Hey guys, how y'all doing today? My name is Franchise Fanatic and welcome back to the channel. And today for you guys is another MCU review. Today we're tackling Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. This is seemingly in an era where the MCU is just consistently getting better and better and better. Each movie's a freaking banger. Each movie's incredible. Each movie is insanely well made. And this is essentially no, change. If you like this video, make sure to leave a like, subscribe if you're new. Let's get into this Marvel review. That rhymed. Anyway, yeah, we are talking about Guardians of the Galaxy 2, and this is basically coming off of, like I said, every MCU movie being really, really great. We're not collectively. I guess I was never part of this camp, okay, but a lot of people now are in the MCU camp of the MCU's actually dead, but Deadpool's gonna save it. Like, there's been a few hits and misses, but thankfully, before Endgame at least, in my opinion, almost every movie is a genuine hit. And this is no exception. Again, this is an absolute blast. I freaking love this movie. This basically, James Gunn essentially took, before now he's doing DC, but before that, before he switched sides, right, he was essentially taking what worked in Guardians 1, regarding the writing and the acting and the actors and the CGI and the whatever, and essentially made it even better in this film. Now this is, before going into this movie, I'm like, okay, maybe this isn't the one. This one's good, but, maybe it's not the best, and I still think 3 is the best out of the, again, when I rewatch it, I'll have to let you know, but I really did enjoy this one. I think a little bit more than 1. I think that the CGI has only gotten better. Again, the CGI guys aren't being effing worked to death with those CGI whips, you know what I mean? Like, they're doing good work. Again, the villain, Ego, the living planet. How do you adapt a big ass planet into a villain? And they actually they did that, and they actually made it work. Of course, Kurt Russell is good as Ego. Everyone is good. Of course, everyone who is the Guardians of the Galaxy, they're back and they're great. Of course, the music is good. I'm not really a massive fan of that genre, but none of the songs are bad. They fit the thing well. I think that's what James Gunn is really, really good at. He's good at setting a stage and setting the mood and the overall atmosphere of something. Because you look at like Ant-Man and maybe Civil War, Thor 2, something like that. Movies that aren't necessarily 100% comedy. There are funny moments, and some of them work, some of them don't. However, with Guardians of the Galaxy, I think James Gunn is able to kind of leverage the humor, actually have the humor be actually funny, and then I said actually way too goddamn time, but anyway, you know what I mean, have the humor be really good, and then also have everything else fit on top of that with the serious stuff and the action and the drama and the whatever, and the world building and the new characters. You get Mantis and all that fun stuff. There's a lot of people in here, and there's a lot of things that could be kind of goofy and dumb, but again, the writing is so good and the characters are taking themselves seriously and everything works. These characters are believable people. Drax and Rocket, making little jokes and all that. Groot, baby Groot for the first time. That's kind of cool. And it was in a post-credit scene, but this is the first movie he's in. And then, of course, at the end of this film, we get Teen Groot, and we're going to move on with more Groot in the future here for these more reviews. But, again, I think everything basically works. I think that the world building is really great. I love the action. I love the CGI. Again, when you take a good script like this, that's really everything. You look at like Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania. I don't hate that movie, but it has a pretty shitty script. I'm not going to lie, okay? It's not the best in terms of writing. A lot of stuff post-Endgame suffers a little bit. Not a lot. I'm not in the camp where the MCU is dead. I'm not a hater. But, there are a few things in the MCU now that could do maybe a bit of a... I'm not saying I could effing do it better, but other people could do it better. You know what I mean? So I think that it's really cool that James Gunn is really, like, he's hitting these home runs, like, left and right. You know what I mean? And then he made some DC stuff, and now, of course, he's the head of the DCU, but... this is really great. Yondu is great. Of course, we're getting more characterization for him and for Rocket. Yondu's death is really emotional. I think it's really cool how they end them. The whole movie is basically kind of a comedy, right? There's a lot of funny moments, and there's some action, there's some serious stuff and all that. But the restraint really comes in the end of the film, where you have Yondu's death, and they're having the funeral and all that. They don't end with some stupid joke. You know what I mean? They don't end with something that isn't funny. They end with Rocket crying, tears. I guess that's the same thing. But they end with him having a tear down his raccoon face or whatever, his triangle monkey head or whatever. And that works because while James Gunn is able to make characters that are funny and stupid and goofy and dumb sometimes, he's able to make these characters also human. I know he's a goddamn talking raccoon, but they're able to make him a human-esque character, and they do that more in 3. But this one, it really freaking hit home. But yeah, like the end shot is Rocket Raccoon crying because he feels like an a-hole for treating Yondu wrong, and maybe he has a bit of a character arc in a sense that he's trying to push everyone away, and then this is kind of his realization maybe not to do that so much, kind of lighten up a bit and accept his family. It's good shit, man, really good. And again, I really enjoyed it. And coming from before watching this, going, yeah, it's good, it's fine. Like there's some really good stuff. Like the action scene where Nebula's like effing, trying to chase down Gamora, and she it's like a one shot, and she like crashes into the ravine or some shit, like the mountain, and like it's like a video game. Like Gamora's like it's one shot, right? The Blu-ray's Gamora. She's running, and my hand is Nebula's ship or whatever, and it's like, it's doing that. And it's obviously a lot more epic in the movie, but it shows that it's a really cool shot. It's really cool. It's like a fight scene, and she just literally flew across the effing galaxy to best her in combat and stuff like that. It's really crazy. And again, all these characters have different motives. Nebula's got her own motive. Gamora has her own. Star-Lord has his own with Ego and his mom and his dad and all that. Mantis is there, and she's great. Drax is funny as ever. Drax is almost there where it's like, okay, he's too funny. Like, when there's moments in this movie where he's trying to be serious. He's like, where's Quill? And I'm like, I kind of laughed because I'm like, everything this friggin' dude says is supposed to be funny. So when he's not trying to be funny, it's a little weird. And, again, it teeters on the line of, is this guy too funny to take seriously? And thankfully he's not. Again, I think they kind of walked the line a little bit there. But there are a lot of moments where he is funny and he's doing really. I mean, genuinely, it's like to me, it's like I don't want to say it's objectively funny because I guess not everyone has the same sense of humor and shit. But like it's funny. You'll laugh. Okay, it's funny. And I think it's kind of cool that they're able to make these characters funny and goofy, but also when they need to be serious and they need to do things and they got to get from point A to point B. It all makes sense within the narrative, and that's really effing good. That's good storytelling. That's good writing. And of course, we've seen a lot of good writing in the MCU before, and we're going to see a lot of it after. Yes, even the new stuff has good writing, but I do think that this James Gunn is he's a bit of a weird bloke if you look into it. I don't know why he dyes his hair, kind of weird, but don't look into it. But I think that he is a genuinely talented filmmaker and writer. I hope he effing really does good with Superman Legacy or Superman or whatever the hell he's calling it now. I'm seeing the behind the scenes sets stuff and it looks a little wonky, but I have faith. I think, like I said, the Guardians trilogy is great. Brightburn, he had a hand in. Of course, Scooby-Doo 2, he wrote that. And then of course you got the Suicide Squad, which is one of the best DC movies of all time. So yeah, I mean he's a great filmmaker. I mean he does his job really well. And again, it's really cool that you can take something that worked in Guardians 1. The atmosphere and the writing and the directing and the shot composition and the framing and all of that technical stuff. It's like dialed to 11 in this movie, and it looks really, really great. Again, the CGI is great. There's really not a whole lot of negatives. I mean, I genuinely really loved rewatching this one. I don't want to sound like a broken record and stuff, but they're not bad. I mean, like, what do you want? It's a multi-billion-dollar franchise. They're not going to make an objectively shitty movie. We'll get to it. But in terms of right now, I think they're doing a pretty good job. And again, I love Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. Really great film. Again, it took characters that I really liked from the first film and kind of made them a lot, more, I guess, three-dimensional in terms of the depth of the character and the depth of the writing. I think it's really, really great. As far as negatives, again, I think Drax can kind of teeter a little bit on the line of he's too funny. You don't take anything he says seriously because he's probably just going to say something stupid. But overall, man, I mean, maybe Ego isn't the best villain ever. He's just, I want power. The MCU, look, DC has better villains than Marvel. Okay, let's just get that out of the way. But this one is good. He is better than, say, the leader, or not the leader, freaking Abomination, for example, or Malekith, stuff like that. He's not obviously the best villain ever, and he's not the best villain out of this trilogy even. We'll get to that with Volume 3. But I genuinely love this movie. I don't really know that many things to complain about. It looks great. I like the music. I like the atmosphere. I like the writing, the action, the storytelling. It's all really great. They're able to expand on the MCU with new characters and new ideas without feeling boring or, this is the same thing over and over again. Again, you like Ninjago, you fall into that trap where sometimes the MCU can try to be too funny, and sometimes that doesn't effing work and it falls on its face. There's jokes in like Captain America Civil War, which is a more serious serious movie, having, some jokes work. I'm not going to say none of the jokes work in more serious Marvel movies, but when you get a movie that you know is going to be funny, and then it actually is funny, that's better than having a serious movie with really lame jokes, you know what I mean, stuff like that. And again, it really, really works. It's hard for me to think about too many things, like I said. I don't want to come out here and be like, oh, yeah, it's great, bye. But, I mean, I'm not going to lie. Like, I'm watching it, I'm like, maybe those two things I mentioned. But overall, I really enjoyed it. Again, I do think this is a step up from the first one. I really love the first one. But I think now that we're expanded and, we're doing more with these characters, we're able to kind of see what happens with them and where they're going to go and what's happening in general with the MCU moving forward. And I think they did a good job. Again, giving that characterization to Rocket a little bit. And Yondu is really great as well. I think Kraglин's cool. There's a lot more depth with him and his character. He's got the mantle of the arrow now, so that's kind of cool. But yeah, man, just a lot of really cool stuff in this movie. And James Gunn killed it, obviously, like he pretty much always does. And I'm excited to rewatch 3. But hey, the next one on the list is Spider-Man Homecoming. But anyway, Guardians Volume 2. Really liked it. Probably going to give it an A. Again, those two little nitpicks are very, very minor. There's stuff like, oh, the writing was trash, or oh, it's woke, or oh, it's bad CGI. And I'm like, yeah, it really is an enjoyable movie, and it's funny. Like going back to the MCU, the old MCU stuff, and I don't want to say it's old, but the older stuff. It's funny. Like all of them are good. It's crazy. It's like I don't. Maybe when I rewatch Homecoming, I'll hate it. I don't know. You have to watch and find out. But for the most part, a lot of the MCU stuff, leading up to Endgame has been great. And yes, I'm probably not the first guy to say this, but this stuff post Endgame is also effing good. Maybe not as good in some situations, but hey, I'm excited to see where that goes as well. Again, though, we're gonna get to it. Don't worry. The next one though is Spider-Man: Homecoming. Let me know down below in the comments if you want me to react or review Deadpool 1 and 2. I'm probably gonna do those for the new one. Shit like Logan. And, other movies that are, the Tobey trilogy, or Andrew Garfield Spider-Man. Those films, the Sony stuff, Morbius, Madam Web, oh boy, Venom 1 and 2. Like, those are all now canon to the MCU via the multiverse, so those all count too. If you want me to react to all those things, make sure to tell me down below. Again, it's going to make the series a lot more longer, but I think you guys would want some content, right? I mean, who knows? Tell me down below what you think, though. Again, I really enjoyed Guardians 2, and I can't wait to move on to Homecoming, the movie, not the dance. Thank you, guys. We'll see you in the next video.